The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is the sequel to the 2017 film, The Hitman's Bodyguard. Once again, brings back Ryan Reynolds, Samuel Jackson, and Salma Hayek. And the film also adds Frank Grillo, Antonio Banderas, and Morgan Freeman. The film is an hour and 39 minutes, rated R, and tells a story about, once again, Michael Bryce, played by Ryan Reynolds, has to protect both now Salma Hayek, who plays Samuel Jackson's wife, and Samuel Jackson's Darius Kincaid, as Antonio Banderas and his whole crew is after them looking for a briefcase attacking a bomb. My name is Max, and we're up to a brand new movie review here on Max Talk. When we say we're talking The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard here on Max Talk. Before we get started with this review, please consider liking the video, guys. That is the best way to support this YouTube channel. Also, please comment down below your thoughts. If you have seen the film, tell me, do you actually like this better or worse than the first film? And also, if you are going to see this in theaters this weekend, let me know, you're excited, not excited, or you're just going to wait for this on streaming in the next month or two. Also, please consider subscribing and ring the bell for notifications. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings, and a box office breakdown show. So please consider subscribing, ringing the bell. Let's do all those things, and let's get started with my positives about The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. So I was kind of excited for the movie. I did see the first movie in theaters. Thought it was a fun, not a good movie, but a fun time in the theater when Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson are bantering. It was a fun little movie. Pretty forgettable action film that I've only watched sit through it once, and that was in the theater. I've seen it on cable once in a while and checked it out, but have not watched the first movie in full since the first time I saw it in theaters. And if you've seen the first movie, I think a lot of people, when they go into sequels, say, do you have to see the first movie to get what's going on in this movie? You absolutely do not have to watch the first Hitman's Bodyguard to watch The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. You really don't have to watch it all. Now, they do bring up stuff that happened in the first film once in a while, but for the most part, it's a very much its own thing that you don't need prior knowledge of the other film to get what's going on in the film. So start with my positives, and really got to make it clear. The main positive, maybe the only positive of the entire movie, really for the most part, is this cast. That's why you're going to see this movie. You're not going to see this movie for story, for watching an actual movie. It's very similar to the first film. It's made for watching these actors on screen do the most ridiculous things possible. And that is Ryan Reynolds, Salma Hayek, and Samuel Jackson together throughout the entire movie. Now, another positive, really the other one, there's two positives, as I said. It's the cast and how funny it is at times. The film is actually quite funny. I was pretty much smiling or laughing throughout the entire film. Again, I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan. I'm a big Samuel Jackson fan. I think Salma Hayek is so underrated, and especially her comedic work. She's really funny in this one. She had a very limited role in the first movie, but now she's very much in the center of things with Samuel Jackson, Ryan Reynolds' character. So she also is really fantastic in the film. Antonio Banderas is over the top, so is Morgan Freeman, but they're all watchable on screen. And once again, the banter between Reynolds and Jackson is what is get you through this movie, just like the first one. If you didn't like the first one, you didn't like their banter, you're really not going to like this movie again, because again, it's very much the same movie, just with a lot more characters and a lot more subplots added into the film. But again, I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan. And now, yes, Ryan Reynolds is doing the Ryan Reynolds isms, very similar to what Kevin Hart does, when a lot of people got annoyed of Kevin Hart isms. And now some people are getting annoyed with The Rock, how The Rock basically plays the same person in every movie. If you're that type of person who doesn't like to see actors play the same roles in every movie, you might not like Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, because Ryan Reynolds is doing Ryan Reynolds. He's playing the same character he plays in most of his movies. And you're either going to like that or you're not going to like that. Samuel Jackson is Samuel Jackson. He's in so many movies every year. You're either going to like Samuel Jackson or you're not going to like Samuel Jackson. And that's just what this movie is telling you. The actors are just acting like themselves, or just acting like the same people they are in every single movie. And you're either going to like that or you're not going to like that. For me, I do enjoy both these actors very much. So I had fun enough time with the movie. I really love Ryan Reynolds. I think he's really funny. His sarcastic humor, his facial emotions, they're really funny to me. I have not gotten old yet. I can sense that he's kind of been doing the same stuff for years now since Deadpool. I'm hoping a Free Guy and Red Notice still coming out this year. He does kind of change it up. We shall see. Samuel Jackson, it's hard not to get tired of him. He is literally in feels like every single movie. He was in Spiral earlier this year. He's going to be in The Protege later this year. He's just a fun actor to always see on screen. Salma Hayek owns all of the scenes that she is in. She's really funny. And she also has some really good banter with Ryan Reynolds, which is weird because you expect her to have way more better banter with Samuel Jackson. But I thought her banter with Ryan Reynolds was actually funnier than her stuff with Samuel L. Jackson. Morgan Freeman has a couple scenes. The introduction to his scene is hilarious. And then when he gets more involved in the plot, it gets a little bit too ridiculous. But I would say I was laughing throughout most of the film. Not all of it. There was a lot of missed jokes, and the film doubles down the jokes from the first one. It feels like every word of dialogue is trying to be a joke. Frank Grillo is a nice addition, but he's also way over the top, just like our other side characters. So let's get into my negatives with the film, and that is the plot, the direction, the way the action is shot is totally a mess. Now, the one thing that's got going for it, direction-wise, that the whole film is shot on location, I believe, in Italy. The entire film takes place in Italy for the most part, and it's a very beautiful scenery. Everything around them looks beautiful. But for a movie that's supposed to be an action comedy, the movie completely heavily believes it's a #1 comedy and action coming #2, which is cool. But in this case, it doesn't quite work because the action is so poorly directed. At times you can't see what is going on, and it just doesn't feel like there's just forgettable action scenes upon forgettable action scenes. It feels like every action scene just a throwaway action scene that you've seen in a billion action movies before. And when you have actors like Ryan Reynolds and Salma Hayek and Samuel L. Jackson, you pretty much expect better action. Again, it's very poorly directed, the action. There's so many cuts and cuts and cuts to so many different angles. It gets just too ridiculous, especially seen in a club. That fight scene was really awful to watch. That was probably the worst one of the entire movie. Another issue, just like the first film, is its script. Now, I wasn't expecting this film to be serious or anything like that, but at times the film, there's so much suspension of belief that a viewer can give a movie, and then in this movie, there's just way too much suspension of disbelief of what's going on. Even as someone who walked out of the movie, so I was with my family, I still had no idea what the purpose of Antonio Banderas' character was, just to blow stuff up for the eternity. His villain role is more just on Antonio Banderas' isms instead of the actual character having anything to do with the main plot. There's something he has to do in the movie, and it's a very forgettable villain plot line that you've seen a billion times. Morgan Freeman's involvement, as I said, was good at the start, and really it became too ridiculous at the end of the movie, and there just wasn't a plot at all. It was kind of just like it didn't feel like at times they even had a script. They feel like, let's go to this location this day and let's see what we shoot and what the actors say. Because a lot of this movie just does feel like improvisation more than an actual script. Frank Grillo's Interpol character, who is just here to give exposition of what the plot is supposed to be, it just felt like every time our three main characters were not on screen, it just felt like the other scenes were just to be like, this is what the movie's plot is, and we're gonna give you tons of exposition. There's so much backstory, looks back in the past. I forgot what we call that, where we keep going back in the past and seeing stuff that happened with Ryan Reynolds as a kid, what happened with Salma Hayek and Antonio Banderas' character. There's so many, flashbacks. There's so many flashbacks in the movie. There's like 4 or 5 flashbacks in the movie, and at times it gets, again, too ridiculous. There's too many scenes there. At times they want to be serious, but then they throw something in there that they're trying to be funny, so the tones don't always work. But as a whole, guys, this is the exact movie I thought it was, which means it really is the exact same movie as the first. Our leads are charming as ever, fun to watch on screen, and their banter together is great. But once again, poorly done action, the story, once again, it falls completely flat. And at times it is just way too ridiculous, but I still laughed and had a fun enough time in the theater. So I'm going to give the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard a 3 out of 5 stars. A 60%. Let's go 60% with the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. The only reason why I'm going fresh with this review is because of the likable cast that I just like seeing on screen. I know a lot of people are going to love this movie. A lot of people are going to feel like me, and a lot of people are not going to like this movie. So that's my thoughts on the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Please consider subscribing, ringing the bell for notifications, liking it. Let me know, do you agree with me, disagree with me in the comment section down below. This Monday or Tuesday, depending on when it's released, I'll be talking about this movie on my box office breakdown show, Max Talks Box Office. I'll look at the top 5 movies of the week, and I'm surely this will be honest. So let's keep the discussion going. See you guys soon.